All right, Juanitosville, I'm making a box ring, and I have this saved on a Word document, and I so that this is size 11, 8.5, size 7.5. I have this document. I can send it to you for templates for box rings. All you have to do is just probably comment or get a hold of me. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. Comment if you want this document sent to you in email. I promise I won't harass you. Unlike the death threats I was getting because my chair has been so squeaky, but I oiled it, and I think I'll have less death threats. So I cut the first one, and then I have this one, which is the bigger one, and we'll start making the box ring, and I'll take you guys along if you guys want to see this. I've done a few of these. I've never done one perfect, but I've gotten a little bit better every time. So hopefully I can give you guys some tips and make your first one better than my first one. All right, Juanitosville, when I cut this, I always cut outside of the black line because it's better to have more material than not enough. All right, friends, I wanted to bring something to your attention that I discovered. So you have a short one and you have a long one. The short one typically is the one that goes around the finger, and the long one's longer because it has more space to cover, and you want for it to rise above the crown. So what I done in the past is I switched it, and I made the big one the ring, and then the small one that goes around it, and it turns out to have a ring with a lower profile. All right, guys, we're gonna go with the long one of the two. We already boomed this one, so we're gonna put the logo on the inside and just bend it around. See what size we're gonna end up with. So for your reference, guys, going to be about a size 9. So you know if that says 8.5, then you use the big one, it's a size 9. Make it nice and flat, and then we're gonna solder that, and then we're gonna wrap this around it, and you'll see that it'll have a low profile box style. It's pretty important, friends, that before you solder these together, you get nice flat edges to put together, because this is a hollow ring, and if there's a gap in there, water or moisture can get inside there, and it's not a big deal. I don't know if maybe after a lot of years it's a big deal, but I just noticed that as I'm working on it and I dip it and I put it in the pickle and I take it out, water is seeping out of it if I have gaps in it. So we're gonna try to do it with no gaps. Right, friends, we soldered that seam on the inside ring. I'm gonna look at it into the light and just see what ours. Dude, we're good. We're good. We're looking good right there. The seam is nice. I didn't file any of these outsides yet because we're gonna do them once they become a unit. I have spent a lot of time trying to get this right, and sometimes I went in too deep, and then it made it. And it just, what I've learned is just do that later. So, with that in mind, we have this one, and we're going to basically give it one of these numbers. So that's the profile. See that low profile that I was telling you guys about? The other way, this part comes up quite significantly. And you can make it as high or as low as you want. But on this one, I want to have a low profile ring, and that's going to be perfect. And the way to know that is just put it down. And if you can put it down and the inside ring is not touching the plate, then you have enough clearance to create a nice box ring with the low profile, and that's what we're doing today. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some solder on the inside of this, and then solder these two together. And this process, making these box rings, requires a lot of solder, and you guys will see as we continue moving forward. So now we're going to solder these and then go on to the next step. Of course I didn't get that, but I put solder on the inside of this U right here. And now I'm going to take this that fits inside, Good. I need to quench this and actually be able to touch it. It's because I'm just so impatient. I just want to move. And that's why I try when I make these videos, guys, is to move through the process. Try not to burden you with every single step. Juan Needlesville doesn't need to see all that. And all the times I use foul language. And I'm trying to do better with my foul language because I have nieces and nephews that are just little. And sometimes they like to watch Uncle Ben make jewelry. You guys still with me? Oh, shoot. I've seen these outside things put together or held onto the inside ring with binding wire before. Okay, I think we got it. But I tried that one time and then the binding wire messed up my silver. So I think I had it too tight. So I kind of was averse to doing it that way after a while. So if you look at this, guys, this is what it's looking like. So this is where you can decide if you want this to be straight up or if you want to have a little bit of a bend in. It's really a preference of what you like as an artist. And on this one, I think I'm gonna let this kind of be bent in a little bit. I hope I can make it look easy, because it kind of is. If it wasn't easy my first time because I was just trying to figure it out. I didn't have a video to watch, or if there was a video, I was too dumb to look for it. But you guys are smarter than me, and you guys are here. Next step is to put the side faces on. So you're gonna have two side faces, and essentially it's gonna sit like this, and you're gonna solder that. I won't use this piece, but you're going to solder that on the inside, on the outside, and then you'll do it again on the other side, and then you'll have your outsides of the box, and you do the face part last. So we're making way. We're going to work on one of the sides. Oh, by the way, this is 22 gauge. I've done it with 20 gauge, and I prefer to do a 22 gauge. It just works a little bit easier for me. All right, Juan Needlesville, we're here. We're going to do one of the sides. Use your shears. Don't cut your finger like I did last time. Give it a hammer. When you cut with the shears, it warps it a little bit. So we're gonna go with the hammer. Stop! Hammer time. We're gonna solder this, and then we're gonna cut the circle out, and then we'll solder the other side. So as I'm looking at this, guys, this is where I was telling you about how I wish the ends were flared out, and I actually cut them quite a bit flared out. But I'm gonna have to do some filing to make these sides sit flat. They sit kind of flat on that side. So right here, I just need to take off a little bit of this, but that's all right, because that's why we didn't cut any off earlier. Otherwise, this possibly could have been too short. So we left the material on so we have it later to subtract from. I'm almost there. I've been doing this for about 71 hours. So if anybody out there wants to buy me a belt sander, oh man, make my life a lot easier. What's the Guinness Book of World Records for pulling silver across a file like an idiot? So if you guys can see that, where it's still a little bit on the edges, where it's still brown, that's where the plate isn't flat. This one is silver all the way, so that's gonna sit nice. But where this is, I still need to go a little bit deeper. And I could go a little bit deeper on this side too, because if you see right here on the shank, bottom part of the shank, there'll be a pit there too. So if I get that all the way nice and flat, then there'll be no seams. Another tip I learned, friends, is while these are still movable, look at them and make sure they're even, because they can go wonky like this or wonky like that, and you just want to make sure that they look as even as possible. My line's not even, and maybe that affected something. Probably it did. Probably it will, but you won't be able to tell. As long as our thing doesn't look like a trapezoid. Is that what it would be? a square with no angles, 90 degrees, whatever that's called, if you remember from geometry class. That looks pretty good to me. We're gonna move on to the next step. With this point right here, guys, we are close to being able to lay down some solder. All I have is big pieces right now. Sometimes all I have is little pieces, sometimes all I have is big pieces. Is it armed and dangerous, friends? Okay, I'm gonna pause it here and then we're gonna get it hot and then I'll bring you guys back, but I'm sure you don't want to watch it getting warm. Or maybe you do. By the way, friends, I have 133 subscribers as of today. I just released episode 10, making this signet ring. I made one and did a video. Episode 10, you guys can check it out. But if you guys are like my subscribers now, like, dude, you guys are legit, like super OG, down with the homies. I'll never forget you guys, man. Okay, let's turn this heat up a little bit. Bringing everything to temperature at the same time, like we talk about. I probably could have put it on this and it would have taken it off this plate, and I probably should have done that, but I want it to be flat. It needs to be really flat, and I'm going to press on this a little bit, so if it's on that wire and I go to press on it, it's going to flip off. So we're just going to go like this. I wish I would have got that seam straight, but man, it's the things I'll watch it in the video. I'm like, dang, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? I learn quite a bit watching my videos, man. Usually it's like not to be like, dang, really? I tried that? Why would I think that? Why would I try that? Why would I put that on the video for my friends to see? I do want to put myself in a good light for you guys, but I also want to be real, because I've seen some videos where they just make it look so easy. It's like, dude, that's not real. Okay, now we're gonna see a nice meniscus, I've heard it called. I want an inside meniscus too. Let's get the meniscus on this side. Good meniscus. Oh, come on, buddy. Let's be friends. The inside looks meniscus-y. Sometimes I help the solder a little bit, you know. Really trying to do a good job. I'm acting like I'm trying to get an A here, guys. Just do it like you're trying to get an A. That's where I thought maybe it might be a little. I think we're looking good. Good as we could, baby, as good as we could. Okay, that looks good. Using my $5 saw because it's small, like a little sports car. Alright, so we cut out the middle part. Now we're just going to cut around the edges. But we're not going to cut too close to this because we want to make sure we have plenty of material at the edge right here so that we can get it nice and flat. Next side, next step. All right, guys, I just got done soldering the second one, and I got to tell you, you're going to need more heat. A lot more heat than you did on the first one, because there's this extra piece up here, and it's just more mass. And I didn't realize that how much more heat I was gonna have. I had to turn my flame up, because once I turned my flame up, boom, everything just started to run. So more heat on the second plate because of the bigger mass. All right, friends, we are at this stage. I put the other plate on, cut out. I'm gonna be doing some filing on the inside and the outside to get it flush. So that's gonna take a little bit of time. You can imagine it's just... All right, friends, we are at this point where we are going to solder the face plate. And I was gonna just do it, but I was like, man, Juanitos will get mad at me if I did all that and didn't even let them in on the final soldering job for the box ring. For the sake of this tutorial, we're just gonna do the box ring. and I'll show you guys the finished product, and then then you guys can use your creativity to decide what you do with it. So like I said before, I'm gonna need a lot of heat on this because this is a nice chunk of mass. I put it on the wire so that the block underneath wouldn't sink heat away from it, and I have a feeling that's gonna help quite a bit. So I'm just working on the edges. When I learned how to do this, I was taught to use a lot of solder, and I used quite a bit, more than what I normally do, and more probably what I feel comfortable with, but okay. Wish I had one of those rotating ones. We're gonna look over here. That looks good. Keep moving on this side. Okay, we got some flowage. That looks good. Final side. This side looks good. Let's just make sure that we're where we want to be. Yes, yes, yes. This is it, guys. Good solder all the way around. We're gonna cut this and we will have the low profile box ring. All right, guys, so this is it. You can see I left a lot of meat on the inside and the outside because what you don't want to do is accidentally saw into this. So I was being very generous with how much I left. I'd rather file it slowly until I get it right where I want it, because this may happen, and it did happen, and I was even trying to be careful of it. Right there I sawed maybe a little bit in too much, and then I pulled out. Can you see? My saw blade started going that way, and then so we'll see. But this is where we're at. Excuse my big old gouge on my thumb. That was a couple days ago when I was working on the Syngate ring. But so we just basically file until it's nice and flush. This little table right here, I kind of like the way that looks, but I think I'm probably going to get rid of it. I don't know. I guess I'll just file it closer until I decide. All right, Juanitosville, this is what we ended up with. We have the ring. It's a blank canvas. I didn't work on the inside very much yet, but I will. I think that's the end of the box ring video right here, guys. I can show you guys like a cool little montage at the end. Sometimes people like that. But what I decide to do with this is going to be a different video. Maybe I'll call it like decorating a box ring video. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm sure whatever it turns out to be, it will be fantastic. Thanks, friends, for watching. As always, subscribe if you like the video. You want to hang out with me again. That way you can be notified or whatever that I dropped another video. This is episode 11. So we're going to keep moving, man. Keep it groovy like a drive-in movie. Hey.